They Sold My Sister by Letepa Oli Sumkuli. I was only 10 years old when my sister was sold away. That was 2 years ago, a few days before the suitors had come. 3 ugly women and 4 men. One of the 4 men wanted to be the husband of my sister. I disliked the way he looked, but my father and the clan liked him very much. They said he came from a rich family. His father had many head of cattle and a large flock of sheep. It was true they were rich. They brought as many gifts as I had never seen before. They brought beer, the local bossa, and the other type sold in bottles. It was called Tusker. They brought 4 thick blankets, one for my father, one for my mother, one for my uncle, and one for my aunt. Nothing was brought for us children. In fact, they didn't want children in the house where my sister was sold. I hid myself behind a standing bag of maize. They could not see me. They thought that I was playing with the other children outside. I saw with my own eyes. I saw the father of my sister's husband to be pull out a wad of red 100-shilling notes. He gave them to my father. My father's hands quaked as he took the money. My mother smiled. I rubbed my wet eyes. They sold my sister. One day, much later, my mother beat me up thoroughly when I used the word sold to refer to my sister's marriage. She said dowry was a much kinder and more civilized word. Nyamala was away in a boarding school. She did not know that at home she had been sold to a man she had seen only once, but never talked with. She did not know that father and mother had drunk beer, the beer of the sale. She did not know that father, mother, uncle, and auntie each had a new thick blanket. She did not know that father had received, with hands trembling of joy, a fat wad of notes. Cattle would be sent the following day. Nyamalo did not know she was not a member of her household any longer. She was the wife of an ugly man, a man with big eyes and dilated nostrils like those of a chimpanzee I had seen in a picture. She did not know. 2 days later, my father told my brother Tumuka to go and bring Nyamalo from school. She had no more reason to continue schooling when a man had come home for her. After all, which other girls from the neighborhood attended secondary school?
My father used many proverbs to show that it was proper that a Maasai girl of Nyamalo's age should go to her own house.
She was already circumcised and her breasts were round enough. My brother, Tumuka, said no, he would not go. Nyamalo was only in her first year of junior secondary school and she must be allowed to finish. The world has changed, he told father. My father's mouth was agape with astonishment. How could a son challenge his father about his own daughter? Tumuka, my father called. Yes, papa, Tumuka answered. Are you or are you not going? I'm not going, papa. And Nyamalo must be left to finish her schooling. She must not be married off at such a tender age. She must be allowed to choose her own man when the time comes. My brother spoke politely but firmly. You are not going,
All right, you may stay.
but Nyamalo will go to her husband whether you like it or not. She is my daughter, not yours. Wait, my dear son, until such a time as you have your own daughter. Then you may be listened to. What insolence! That was the end of school for Nyamalo. My father brought her home that weekend. The situation was explained to her, and I saw a flood of tears run down her sweet cheeks. She screamed, sobbed, and writhed painfully on the floor. I'm not going, she said. I'm not going. My mother also shed a tear. I don't know why my mother shed a tear when she had accepted the blanket, drunk beer, and smiled when father was given money. You will go, my daughter. You are not your own daughter, father said resolutely. I'm not going, Nyamalo insisted. What wrong have I done you? Mother, mother, why do you forsake me? Mother shed more tears and only said between sobs, It is finished. 2 days later, the bride was prepared for the ceremonial departure from her parents' home. She was dressed in a loincloth, a lasso, which went under her right arm and knotted above her left shoulder. A beaded belt went around her waist. Around her neck she wore several strings of beads and one beaded ornament, of which the bead suspension flowed down to her knees. Her feet were shod in green rubber shoes. On her back she carried a gourd full of milk, a real bride. The bridegroom's father and mother came to escort her. My father, mother, and clan all anointed her with milk cream. They told her to multiply like a pumpkin. May her children fill the world. But they also reminded her that she was now somebody's wife. She must live like one. That would bring great honor, not only to herself, but to all her people. I was asked to accompany her and to stay with her for 2 weeks to keep her company. We walked in a single file. My sister's father-in-law walked ahead, followed by his wife, followed by Nyamalo, and lastly myself. Although customarily the bride was required to promenade along, she defiantly walked clumsily and fast. I heard my father say from behind when we started off, This girl will bring us shame. I could not stay the 2 weeks I had been asked. I could not stay because of what I saw and heard. After the 4 days during which the bride stayed with her mother-in-law, we were transferred to the house of Nyamalo's husband. His name, I came to learn, was Ole Sirayo. There was no peace between Nyamalo and her husband from the start. She refused to talk to him unless she was asked a question. The first night, instead of going to her husband's bed, Nyamalo came to sleep with me. I felt safe with her sleeping by me because I was afraid of Ole Sirayo. He came to call her. He thought I had slept. I was listening. Come to my bed, he said. No, I'm not coming, my sister said firmly. You are my wife. No.
I paid the whole dowry. He grabbed her hand and started pulling her out of bed.
I don't care about the dowry. You didn't pay it to me. She was screaming aloud. Don't be stupid. Since when did the Maasai pay bride price to the bride herself? He went on, towing her away. Oi, 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 she screamed at the top of her voice. I also screamed. You girl, what are you screaming about? I did not answer him. My sister went on crying. Hey, you in this house, what is happening? That was the father of my sister's husband. He had come to find out what was happening. Sirayo, he called from outside where he stood. Are you fighting the first night? Papa, we are not fighting. It was a small issue. What small issue causes all the screaming? Or do you want the hyenas to know you are married? Hey, that is not how we treat brides. My sister's husband kept quiet and his father walked away mumbling something I could not hear. As soon as he went, Ole Sirayo used all his muscle to lift my sister out of bed and carry her to his bed. I covered my head not to see what was happening. The following morning I told my sister that I must go away. She wept bitterly. She held me to her bosom, and I let her hot tears flow onto my head. Tears ran down my face. When both of us had no more tears to shed, she told me, yes, I could go. She said she did not want to see me suffer. I knew she did not want me to see her suffer. What are you going to do? I asked her. learn to love my husband, she said. She led me until we could see our parents' home. Before she left, she embraced me and told me, "Tell father and mother that may the wealth they have except choke them to death." I, look, I looked into my sister's eyes. I loved my father and mother, but for the first time I wished them dead. It is now 2 years since all this happened, and now I fear it is my turn. I am only 12 years old, but I fear. Today I heard something. Oli Timau, the man with a big round stomach and a white beard like one of my father's billy goats, came to see my father this morning. They sat on stools in the sitting room, and my mother asked me to take tea to them. I served them tea and went to sit under the eaves of the house. I sat near the window that opens into the sitting room. I could hear the two men talk. "How is everybody in your place?" my father asked. "They are all fine," Ole Timau answered. We haven't heard anything offensive to the ear." Only the ordinary common colds of the nostrils." That is the news of the land. That is the news of the land. My father tied up the loose end of the traditional Maasai exchange. After the formal exchange of news, my father and the man talked about many things. I found the eavesdropping quite interesting. I prayed mother did not call me to send me somewhere as she was fond of doing. I heard Ollie Timau tell my father, "I am soon coming for your heifer." "A human or animal heifer?" "Human." "Which one?" "There is only one left in your homestead. I speak about the girl Naliki." At the mention of my name, I froze against the wall. "For which of your sons will you come?" my father inquired. "I'll come for myself. I'm still young enough to take another wife." I did not hear the rest because my mother called me. "Why are you shivering?" she asked me. "I'm afraid," I said in a tremulous voice. "What of?" She slapped me. I did not cry. "Now I am afraid. I know soon my father will call for my circumcision. Then I will be sold off like my sister. I will be sold off to an old man with a beard and a big belly. I am afraid. The only person who can save me is Tumuka, my brother. He now works in Nairobi. I must write to him. I must tell him that father plans to sell me to Ole Timau. I am in primary school and I want to finish school. I must be the first Maasai girl to read to the last stage of reading. Tumuka himself told me that. I don't want to marry, but my father will sell me to Ole Timau by force. I will run.